Today, in this lecture, we are going to study about properties of neurons or the properties of nerve fibers. What are these neurons? These neurons are structural and functional unit of the nervous tissue. What is nerve fiber? Two types of nerve fibers are there, dendrites and the axon. So what is the function of these dendrites? It is to receive the impulses from the previous neuron, and the function of axon is to carry these impulses from one neuron to the other neuron, or it may ends on the effector organs, which are generally glands or the muscles. So these neurons or the nerve fibers, they show some characteristic features. Characteristic feature listed here is, first one is excitability, which is also called as irritability. Second one is called as conductivity. Third, stimulus, which includes three subtypes. First one, threshold stimulus. Second, subliminal stimulus. Third one, supraliminal. Next to that is summation effect. Number 5, all or none law. 6th one, refractory period. 7th one, synaptic delay. 8th one, synaptic fatigue. And the last one is velocity. I'll tell you the meanings of these terms one by one. We are going to study the first one, that is excitability, which is also called as irritability. What is it? It is the ability of a nerve fiber to perceive stimulus and enter into a state of activity. That means whenever any stimulus is there, what is the stimulus? Stimulus is any change in the environment. I am giving this lecture, I am going to explain it to you. That means whatever I am giving the explanation, that will be stimulus for you. And because of this stimulus, because of the change in the environment, these nerve fibers get excited and they start carry the impulse from sense organ to central nervous system. And this is because of what? It is because of polarized state. In the previous lectures, we have studied that when the nerve fibers are at the resting state, they are present at polarized state. What's the meaning of polarized state? It is the positive ions are present towards the outer side and negative ions are present towards the inner side. When it is get excited, the polarized state is get converted into depolarized state. Okay, so this is the first property of nerve fiber, that is excitability, also called as irritability. Second characteristic feature is here conductivity. What is the conduction? To carry the impulse from one place to the another. That is, we can consider about the nerve impulse, whatever I am explaining here. You are receiving it through ear and through your eyes, which are the sense organs, and through that sense organ this impulse is carried up to the central nervous system. So that property is called as conductivity. Third one is stimulus. As before explained, what is the stimulus? It is any detectable change or any change in the surrounding becomes stimulus, and this stimulus we can define it as any detectable physical, chemical or electrical change in the external or internal environment which bring about excitation of nerve fiber, either nerve fiber or muscle or organ or the complete organism. So there are three types of stimulus. First one is threshold, second subliminal, and third supraliminal. What are these? We will see the first one, that is threshold stimulus. The stimulus of minimum intensity, which is able to evoke the response, it is called as threshold stimulus. So what is threshold? It is for the stimulus of minimum intensity. Second one is called as subliminal stimulus, which is also called as weak stimulus, and because of that there will be no response. So as there is no response, no effect is there, it becomes a weak stimulus or subliminal stimulus. Third one is called as supraliminal. Supraliminal means strong stimulus, which is able to produce same degree of impulse as that of threshold stimulus. So it is of minimum strength, and supraliminal means the impulse stimulus of the strong intensity, but the effect of these two are same. That means they can produce the response or they can produce the effect. Next to that is summation effect. What's the meaning of word sum? Sum means total. So this subliminal stimulus, if we give the stimulus of this subliminal strength, as we have studied, it is of a weak type of stimulus, not able to produce any response. So single subliminal stimulus will have no effect. But if you are going to give many such type of weak stimuli in a quick succession, okay, sometimes we are not in a state to receive the impulses from the exterior because we are busy in something by our own activities. So at that time, if a strength which is of weak type, we can say the stimulus of weak strength is given, we are not getting evoked, that means effect cannot be seen. But if you are giving continuous this weak type of stimulus to a person, so what happens? So many subliminal stimulus, if they are given in a quick succession, then it start producing some effect. Because of what? Because of addition, or we can say because of summation of the stimulus. That is called as summation effect. What is it? It is when many weak stimuli are given in a quick succession, the response or the effect can be seen because of addition of many subliminal stimulus. Next to that is all or none law. What does it mean? The nerve will either conduct the impulse along its entire length or will not at all conduct the impulse. That means doing its work with the maximum strength or not doing at all. That is called as all or none law. Next to that is refractory period. What is it? It is the time interval, generally in milliseconds, during which a nerve fails to respond to a second stimulus, however strong it is. That means if you are giving the impulses continuously, then while passing the stimulus from one neuron to other neuron, some gap is there that will be of simply milliseconds. So when this nerve fiber is not giving response, that is called as refractory period. Even though the next response, even though the next stimulus which we are giving, that is more strong, it is not able to respond. So that is the time interval between two impulses, we can see. Next one is called as synaptic delay. Seventh one is synaptic delay. In this synaptic delay, the impulse requires about 0.3 to 0.5 millisecond to cross a synapse. For what purpose this time period is required? It is for release of neurotransmitter from axon terminal and excitation in the dendron of next neuron. That is called as synaptic delay. Next is synaptic fatigue. This fatigue means when the transmission of nerve impulse across the synapse takes place, at a time it halts temporarily. Why it halts temporarily? Due to exhaustion of its neurotransmission, that is called as synaptic fatigue. Next one is called as velocity. It is the rate of transmission of impulse which is higher in long and thick nerves. Remember that transmission of impulse is higher in case of homeotherms. What do you mean by homeotherms? It is warm blooded animals. Then in poikilotherms, that is in cold blooded animals. So rate of transmission of impulse is high in long and thick nerves as well as in case of homeotherms. This velocity of transmission is higher in voluntary fibers as opposed to autonomic or involuntary nerves. Remember that this velocity is faster in case of medulated nerve as it jumps from one node to other of the Ranvier, as we have studied in 11th standard as well as before also, which is called as saltatory conduction. So this is about the different types of different terms which we have studied, which we have to study under this topic, control. These properties of nerve fibers can be asked for 2 marks. That means any 2 terms can be asked for 2 marks. Any 4 terms can be asked for 4 marks. May possible that any 3 terms will be asked for 3 marks. In this topic we have to study one more part which was left before, that is the limbic system. So we are going to see about the limbic system now. For this limbic system you should remember about the longitudinal section of brain. So we are going to see the part of limbic system, where this limbic system is situated and what are the parts of limbic system. Here this is the diagram for limbic system of human being. What are the parts of limbic system? So this limbic system, it includes hypothalamus, amygdala, parts of epithalamus, thalamus and hippocampus. So in the diagram I will show you the parts. We are going to see the hypothalamus first. You can see here this is the hypothalamus. For that you should remember the parts of forebrain. In case of forebrain, its first part is here olfactory lobes. Here it is shown olfactory lobe, which is observed from the ventral side of the brain. Ventral means we have to observe it from this side. So this is olfactory bulb. This major well-developed part is called as cerebrum, where these convolutions are seen consisting of gyri and sulci. Here this cavity-like structure is there, corpus callosum. Here it is labeled as cingulate gyrus, which is also concerned with this system called as limbic system. So this part of the brain here, this is actually diencephalon, and floor of the diencephalon is called as hypothalamus. This part is called as thalamus and this upper part is called as epithalamus. So limbic system involve presence of this hypothalamus. Then it includes this part called as amygdala. Then part of epithalamus and thalamus. This is epithalamus here. Here this is the thalamus, and it includes hippocampus. This is the hippocampus, as it looks like seahorse. It is also called as hippocampus. Okay, so these are the parts of limbic system of man. Once again I'll show another diagram. Here this is the parts of this limbic system. You can see this hypothalamus. This is the floor of diencephalon. Its second part is called as amygdala. Third part is called as hippocampus. This lateral wall of the diencephalon becomes thalamus, and this roof is called as epithalamus. So all these parts together forms limbic system. They perform different functions. You can see that amygdala is related with emotions. Then this hippocampus is concerned with memory conversion. Thalamus, we already have studied that it relays information, and hypothalamus, it maintains the homeostasis. Okay, so this limbic system is concerned with emotional reactions, motivational drives, as well as it is concerned with memory. Okay, so this is the limbic system given in very short. You have to prepare it well. Question of 2 marks will be asked on this topic. Okay, now in the previous lectures we have studied about the structure of brain and different diagrams we have seen to observe this. Once again I will show you some more diagrams so that your ideas will be more clear about this structure of brain. See here, this is a diagram. You can see that a head is shown here, and this is the structure of brain which is visible from the top side. That means we can say that it is the top view of the brain. We can also say that it is the dorsal part of the brain which shows two cerebrum. This is one of the cerebral hemisphere and this is second cerebral hemisphere, and these two hemispheres are separated from each other with the help of this median longitudinal fissure. So from top side you can see these two cerebral hemispheres, and if you want to see it's from the ventral side, we have to observe it from lower side of the brain where the olfactory lobes are seen. So from dorsal side, these two cerebral hemispheres are visible very clearly. We'll see one more diagram. What is this? You can see here this part, it shows the face of a person. That means this is the front view. We can see this is the ventral side. So this brain, it is situated inside the cranium. Here it is shown this is a cranium. So brain lies inside the cranium. Inner to cranium there will be presence of here these three meninges like outer dura, middle arachnoid and the innermost pia mater. So you can see cranium, then here the meninges will be there, and this is the part of brain. So exact position of brain is very clear for you, that is situated inside the cranium or the brain box. Here in this diagram section is shown, and this is the diagram of lateral view. That means from one side, as shown in the diagram, from one side this one hemisphere of the brain of the cerebrum is visible, consisting of four lobes: frontal lobe, parietal lobe, occipital lobe, and this is temporal lobe. Here this is the cerebellum, this is medulla oblongata, and this is pons varolii, and this is the medulla oblongata. So this much part of the brain, it lies inside the cranium, and then this medulla oblongata, it continues as spinal cord. You can also see inside the brain, here this is the part which shows convolutions. It is called as cortex, which is made up of grey matter, and this inner part is called as medulla, which is made up of white matter. We have seen about this basal ganglia, that is in this region of white matter some groups of neurons are seen and it forms the basal ganglia. Okay, so this is for the lateral view, only for understanding it is repeated. What is observed from lateral side, what is observed from the top or from the dorsal side. We have studied all these things before also. I have got good diagrams, and that's why I want to share it with you, and that's why it is repeated. Okay, so this is the last part of this nervous coordination, and in the previous lectures we have studied about the control as well as coordination. We are going to start with new topic in the next lecture.